Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. It is Friday. I had a topic all ready and planned out, and I decided just about 10 minutes ago I was going to change the topic, and so here I am. This is a topic that would probably best be done with a lot more editing and things like that. I'm going to actually give my editor a try and see if I can throw in some little things here and there that will help, but don't plan on too much happening here. So anyway, as most of you do not know, but some of you do know, I live in Peru. I moved here about 7 years ago. I was fresh off a divorce. I will get into all those details in a future video. I already have it planned, but now is not really the time to get into those details. This will be content geared more towards men in the future, and the divorce video and things like that will be geared towards them. But this is a little bit more geared towards everyone. As I've mentioned before, my channel is primarily for young men, but it is for everybody. This is one of those videos that are going to be good for anyone. So anyway, I moved here about 7 years ago. I was fresh off the divorce. My wife literally took everything from me. I had an invitation to come visit my brother about 7 years ago, and I was basically I had a suitcase and a half worth of stuff, an inflatable bed, and some art supplies, and that was about all I had to my name. I was literally sleeping on the floor. My brother offered me to come out here and, clear my head. So, figured, what have I got to lose? Came out here on a 6-month visa, visit my brother, relax, hang out in Peru for a little while. And 6 months turned into a year turned into 2, and, well, here I am. I am a resident now, working on my citizenship, and my life, this move changed my life. So, when it comes to a lot of my reasoning for this topic and my channel of finding your happiness, it's basically mostly lessons I've learned since I've moved here. So, Peru means a lot to me. It's basically the reason I'm alive. It's the reason I'm happy, which is more important than being alive in a lot of ways. Because, trust me, when I first got here, I was so miserable. An eternity of that versus being dead, there's really no point in living at that point in time. And that was basically the world I was in. I had nothing to live for. I didn't want to be here, and honestly, it was probably just a matter of time before I committed suicide. But I didn't. I came here, I had a fresh start. One of the primary things that changed my life was I came across a video on Exctreme Oenership by Jocko Willink. So when I was here, I spent the first couple months just drinking and, laying around in a hotel doing nothing. And I had to start making some changes. And Jocko's book, I actually went back about a year ago and actually read the book. And I'm not as fond of the whole book, but this Cliff's Notes 15-minute video I saw on YouTube really changed my outlook on things. It's called Extreme Ownership. And the principle of it is it doesn't matter if something isn't your fault. It's your problem. It's up to you to solve it. If you lost your job because your boss stole money and blamed you, yeah, you lost your job. There's 2 ways you can respond to it. You can throw a fit, go and beat up your boss, get yourself thrown in jail, be miserable, go on attacks, rage on social, whatever. You can do all kinds of things, retaliate, and none of these things are going to do you any good. They're going to make you more angry. So, what do? You take extreme ownership. It wasn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, but you know what? Pick yourself up and you get another job. Move on. That's it. Stewing in it does you no good. It leads you to a downward spiral where you end up where I was, just miserable, waiting to die. So, I decided instead of blaming people, blaming my wife, blaming the, police and the courts, because I have a criminal record. I'm pretty open about this. And I got arrested one time when I was like 18 over some, petty, possession of a controlled substance, and it's been all downhill ever since. I would think my act together, things would be going fine, and a police officer a few years later would pull me over on a routine stop and see that, and then start looking for something to arrest me for. And I'll be honest, it really demoralized me. Every time I tried to get everything going well, something like this would happen. I was never believed. And I have been in jail more than once because of something I didn't do. In fact, right before I left, my wife attacked me, got scared, called the police, and I went to jail for attacking her hand with my face. And I just gave up. That's pretty much how I got here. But anyway, now in Peru, we have a whole bunch of political problems. We are basically on the brink of civil war. If you are reading or paying attention to anything out here, I'm not going to get into the politics of all that. I have my opinions, but that's not the point of this channel. The bottom line is there's a lot of people here mad because the government isn't doing for them what they want. We have a president who was arrested who promised, money, taxing corporations, rewriting the Constitution to, what is that, the term for equity, financial equity. People who have corporations going to tax them like 80%. People who have like 2 or 3 houses, going to take the other houses and give them to the homeless people. Start paying, monthly pay to people who aren't working. It's a bunch of handouts. And so he went to jail for corruption, and people are out in the streets rioting. They've been doing this for a month. They're blocking roads. They're causing everybody to suffer. And the reason why is because they're mad because they want the government to pay them. And rather than taking responsibility, sucking it up, and fixing their problem. So they're making things worse on everybody. My family is suffering because these people want government handouts. And you know what? To be fair, like I said, I'm trying not to be political about this. The government in Peru was one of the first and most severe to shut down. There are so many people here who were put out of work, just like you can all relate to this. They closed down their restaurants. They closed everything. They didn't close down the mega shopping malls and, things like that. But you couldn't go to the gym. Schools were closed. The kids were locked in. Same thing happened everywhere around the world. And a lot of lives, millions of lives, were ruined because of these lockdowns. And people are pissed and they want retribution. I understand. I get it. The government took all this away. The government is kind of responsible for fixing it. And the government's been pretty incompetent at fixing it. But you know what? It's not the government's not going to do anything for you. If they do, great. That's awesome. But you can't sit around and wait for someone to come around and do the right thing because they screwed you over. If your boss at your job, as I was talking about earlier, if your boss stole and then blamed it on you and you got fired, you can't just go around causing problems until your boss confesses that, oh, I did it. Go ahead and throw me in jail, fire me. Poor Eric, it wasn't his fault. It's not going to happen. If it does happen, awesome. But you know what? You can't make it happen. It's done. So what can you do to fix it? You need to take extreme ownership. You need to not go out and protest. That's fine. But, we have people here who are poor, are starving because of this. They're like, oh, well, we're representing the poor. I'm like, no, you're not. Because there's poor people right now who have been out of food for days who are starving because of these people. And a lot of people are hurting. I get it. You're mad. I get marching. I get protesting. I get making your voice heard. But At a certain point, you have to take extreme ownership. The government is not going to save you. You know, the company you work for that screwed you over is not going to save you. You know, if your company's not giving you a raise, you've got to find one yourself. If you know your significant other is not treating you right, you got to find another one. It's up to you. You are in charge of your life. This is the only way you can do it. Is it fair? No, but you know what? Life isn't fair. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this video, but you know what? I don't care. It is what it is. You know, complaining isn't going to get you anywhere. You know, you can sit. What is more effective? To sit around for a week complaining and hurting other people and yourself, wasting time, or just getting at it. Solve the problem. Solve it for yourself. You know, you can't solve the world's problems. I tried solving the world's problems for 40 years. It's not going to happen. Everything just got worse. Suck it up. Worry about yourself. Fix your own problems. Whether it's political violence, whether it's you know, corruption in the government, whether it's police brutality. You know, people say, you know, the police, you know, they beat me because they pulled me over. I get it. And, you know, it's not right. You should be able to mouth off to the cops when they pull you over unjustly and they're full-blown in the wrong. You know, you should be able to tell them to F off. But that's not the world we live in. It's not just, but the solution is, do you want to be right and get, you know, your butt kicked by the police, or do you want to go home and go to your family and your job tomorrow? You know, you've got to take ownership. And life isn't fair. When people do you wrong, you know, nobody's happy about it. I've been on a really, really long, tough road to get to where I am. And you know what? I'm glad I took ownership and stopped blaming the American government, the American courts, and the American police who kept arresting me even though I didn't do anything wrong, who would railroad me 2-3 times, and I wound up in jail over and over. You know what? Sometimes I was guilty. Sometimes I wasn't. The problem is I was never given a chance. And I would try for 2 or 3 years, and I would get demoralized, and I would, you know, start drinking, getting depressed. But, you know, this time when I moved to Peru, I had a chance at something different. And it's worked for me so far, and I've overcome a lot of hurdles, a lot of people hating me, a lot of people looking at my record. And you know what? Rather than talking about how unfair it is or whatever, people who don't want to hire me, I say, you know what? All right, whatever, that's good. On to the next one. You know, you've got to take ownership, extreme ownership, even when it's miserable. You know, you got health problems, you got to exercise, you got to eat better. You know, we can blame, you know, for the pharmaceutical companies and agriculture for giving us all this convenient fast food, or you can take extreme ownership and start eating better. You know, this happens in every aspect of your life. And so this is my talk for today. I hope it sits with some people, and I hope even people who are going to probably attack me, call it victim blaming, whatever, I hope at some point you see that there is a grain of truth in this, you know. I was just talking to somebody the other day who was an alcoholic, and like, well, my dad was an alcoholic, my brother was an alcoholic, my uncles were alcoholics, I never had a chance. But you know what? Everybody in his family is alcoholics, but he quit drinking. What he did is he stopped blaming. Blaming your dad and your uncles and your brothers for drinking, your drinking, isn't going to solve your drinking problem, but quitting drinking does. So that's my talk for today. I hope some people take it to light. I hope you like it. And if you like what I'm getting at, it's not for everybody. But especially if you're a young person, young guy who's trying to get out and succeed in life, you know, this is the way you got to look at the world. It's not fair. It's brutal, it's mean, and, you know, life's going to knock you down over and over and over again. You know, do you complain about how your wage isn't fair, or do you just keep on grinding and get past that hurdle? You know, sometimes you got to climb mountains, and I've climbed some mountains, trust me. And it might seem damn near impossible when you're going through it, but once you clear it, it's worth it. Trust me. All you guys who are really struggling in life, this is probably the single best advice I can give you. Love you guys. Good luck.